When I was a kid, I remember wanting to feel as if everybody cared about everybody. Everybody was empathetic, and there was this sense of companionship and this form of life amongst the common people, right? Like, who you were around with was someone that you were sharing a common life with. And you'd often help these people, and you'd often want to be there for these people, and then it's these same people who end up demonstrating just how little they give a fuck. And now, seeing that I'm 29 years old, and although I feel older than I am as far as my spiritual life is, but inwardly I feel like a teenager, the wisdom that I've accumulated and attained on this path of self-discovery and spirituality, and just being honest. Being honest is really going to get you a lot of experience in life. Being honest is going to get you to see a lot of different things and perspectives in life as well. And ultimately, if you can figure out a way to be honest but vague when you need to be, it's probably going to be for the best, because most people are out for themselves, and pretty much everybody can be compromised spiritually, except for you. Except for you, pretty much anybody and everybody's going to be spiritually compromised, or at least have the capacity to. Because if you think about your own morals, like Friedrich Nietzsche, for example, he said that you can't really be moral until you create your own moral structure. And most people are just operating under morals given to them. They're not even real morals. They're just these things that people were given. And the more that I think about that, the more I start to see exactly what he was saying, because most people claim to be operating under some kind of moral principle. And yet when it comes down to it, that moral principle that they claim to really have is actually no moral principle at all. They've attached themselves an identity to the principle when in fact they don't even know how to actually act out these principles. And so this is one of the reasons why we've seen books and movies, books like the George Orwell's 1984 or The Matrix as a movie example. We see these movies and we see that they were not just prophetic, they were giving a clear and concise warning of what was going to come if we continued to neglect our own insufficiencies and our own capacity for, well, really anything. I don't like calling it evil or good anymore necessarily, but I understand entirely what these titles are saying, and I understand that the semantics are going to be perhaps difficult for people to grasp, but that's part of the process. That's okay. It's part of the refinement process. And by the way, while I'm thinking about it, I definitely feel as though when I'm outside doing videos, my mind is more clear, and I can think about things in a more broad way, and I can think about things in a relatively fluid way. And I am very much so grounded in the sun, right? Like, I'm very grounded in the sun. And the more that I sun gaze in the evenings or the mornings, depending on, what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, the more I'm recognizing that the source of life really is the sun. And being confined to these indoor corporate offices or working night shifts and whatnot, it's just, this whole system is just designed to screw you over. It really is. It's designed to get you away from the source. Like, think about it, because if we didn't have the sun, where would we get our source of life? Everything that you see, the grass, the flowers, the animals, everything that you experience is given life from this thing. And so it seems to me like we just have lost connection entirely. Like, we've always had that, loss of connection to some degree as a society, but it seems as though with the ways in which technology is operating, that we've just become so disconnected to this light, this beautiful radiance of life. And I've been in a very positive mood for the last few days, and I'm very grateful for that. And the more I look around, the more, if I'm not by myself, I find myself getting not depressed, but just kind of down about life. Not that I am down about life. It's just that I guess the way people see the world to me is just so inconsiderate to the immortality of their own soul. And it doesn't make sense to me, this pessimistic idea and this pessimistic viewpoint. And maybe they don't consider it pessimistic, right? And Nietzsche, a lot of people thought Nietzsche was a nihilist, and I really don't think he was a nihilist at all. I think he was just, in some ways, he had to be more brutal in his approach because of the time in which he lived, and in order to get his ideas out in the kind of way that maybe people would see. But even Nietzsche only sold 150 copies of Beyond Good and Evil during his lifetime. And it was only afterward that he's gotten much more famous. But he's not really, his aim was never to be famous, right? And I was reading some of his work recently, and the prophecies were just astounding. He was talking about how there would be, in the 20th century, wars that would consume men with more wars for times and times to come. And I look at what we've done with the fiat currency system here, well, in the United States specifically with the US dollar, but also with regard to fiat currencies around the world, and how they are so disconnected from the soul. That's why they have to keep the war, they have to keep the momentum going. And the little hat people, I genuinely think, are a cause, not the cause, but a cause for a lot of the effects that we're seeing in society. And I think that, geez, these bugs all of a sudden as soon as I started talking about the little hats, all the mosquitoes and such came out. But very symbolic there. But it seems like the world, the elites, I don't even like saying the planet, because I don't think we exist on a ball in space. I don't think that light that we see, that great light in the sky, the more I sun gaze, the more I'm thinking to myself, that thing is just, I know it's local, but in what type of way, I don't know. And I'm not here to debate. I know some people will get, really riled up in the comments section about this stuff. But the thing is after a while, you just start to realize that you're not crazy. You're just noticing things that other people refuse to notice. You're empirically testing things that other people are just refusing to empirically test. And you got to ask yourself at some point, you know, it's like, I am very much so open to having my intellectual capacity challenged at all times. But then there's going to be times where people just insult your intelligence because they refuse to even acknowledge or entertain the fact that they could be wrong. Like, psychologically, when I approach things that I don't understand, I act as if I don't understand it, or rather understand, right? We've talked about that recently on my channels, the Regal Shaman channel as well as this Regal Change channel. And where was I? And so anyway, this understanding comes from being able to connect with your intuition, and how your intuition is actually the real map of consciousness, of your own consciousness. And your nervous system is an antenna, a highly sophisticated electromagnetic antenna that demonstrates exactly who and what you really are in the spiritual domain. Because your spiritual domain that you're operating in, if you are a quote-unquote chosen one, then you are a celebrity in the spiritual domain for sure. However, I don't even like the term chosen one anymore. And the reason why is because psychologically, what I think that is it's actually the self calling the ego to alignment with itself. Because the self is the part of you that transcends time through time into timelessness. And so you're on all these timelines moving into timelessness or into a collapsing timeline on yourself. And that's really what I think sin is. You know, sin is a collapsing timeline on of itself, where you believe in sin and you believe in wrongdoing. So yeah, of course it's gonna collapse. But once you have that innocence back with you and about you, you don't feel the need to sin. You know, you don't really feel the need to even think about doing wrong. Like, you can't go wrong in this universe. Once you get to a point to where you recognize you cannot go wrong, it's so freeing. And it's not to say that you maybe can't make mistakes, but you can't go wrong, because you're going to learn something from those mistakes. It's like you have to repeat what the devil, like, how do I say this? You have to give your life source to the devil until you've learned your lesson. And I mean that metaphysically and metaphorically. I don't mean that literally. Don't be a religionist here. What I mean to say is that the reason that people don't give a fuck anymore is because instead of learning their lessons, they're just selling their souls. Man, this video is going to piss off a lot of people, apparently. All the bugs and such are coming out. But anyway, like, once you realize you cannot go wrong, there is no way for you to go wrong, because everything is happening for you, not to you. Everything's happening for you. And that's a mindset shift. Maybe it's not a real thing, right? Maybe it is a placebo. But here's the thing, right? We have to ask ourselves, if a placebo is giving you better outcomes, does it matter if it's a placebo? Even if it is, maybe it's not, right? But this is something that was brought up in my last video, where I had the woman's perspective of semen retention. And, you know, she was a pretty bright individual. She is a pretty bright individual. And I think she's very coherent in how she articulated her ideas, even though I didn't agree with them. But I wasn't trying to prove anything, right? I wasn't trying to disprove anything. I was just wanting to hear her perspective, because she's the only woman that I've come across in many different domains that I would even consider listening to. Most women, I just don't even listen. I don't even care to listen to them. And it's not because I don't think that they have anything to say that is useful. It's just that most of their ideas they got from other men. They don't really have original thought. They don't really have ideas. Like most of the time, women don't really have ideas. They have constructs that were passed down to them, and then they follow those constructs. And so it's very rare for me to meet a woman who actually has her own ideas. And I'm not saying that I think she did, like this woman yesterday that I talked to, I think she did. But it's just like, I find myself enjoying conversations with women when I don't have to be intellectual with them. It's not that I don't get this kind of stimulation from the conversation. It's just that I enjoy women more when we just have a good time talking. When I say having a good time, I don't mean sexually. I mean just being playful, like having a sense of playfulness. It just seems better, right? And women respond to me better when I act that way usually. When I try to take women seriously in a non-professional context, it never really works. Like, that's just a fact. It just doesn't really work. And so it's like whatever is happening, whether it's in relationships, whether it's in the dogmatic industries and governments and politics and universities, it's just, no matter what it seems to be, it seems like nobody actually really cares what's going on. And this is one of the reasons why I have the Regal Academy, for example. It's because I want to be able to give people, like what we're doing over the next month or so. I'm going to give people the opportunity that if they want to teach their own class, they can. They'll just have to go through the series of steps to, ensure that it's going to be fruitful. And that's going to be the Regal Gate class, right? And so what I'm aiming to do is, sometimes the best way to learn is to teach. And so giving people the opportunity and to talk about what they want to talk about and to teach about what they want to teach about. Like, I don't believe in credentials. I don't believe in certificates. I've had people ask me like, oh, could I get like a Regal Change certificate? It's like, what do you mean a Regal Change certificate? Have you listened at all to my work? I don't believe in certificates, man. I don't believe that like a piece of paper defines who you are. I don't believe a piece of paper can define who you are. It's supposed to be an indicator that you've gone through a certain set of structure and you've showed up for yourself. But I don't care about that anymore. I just care, do you have, like, show me what you can do, basically. Show me what you can do. And then we'll go from there. I don't need you. And here's the thing also, like, I see a lot, like my biggest example is this: personal trainers at gyms. Okay, I'm obviously not the most like fit guy in the world, right? But I'm reasonably fit. I'm reasonably healthy. I work out pretty much every day at this point. Like, every day I can, I do. And even when I don't work out the hardest on certain days, it's only like an hour and a half. Other days I'm working out 2.5 hours. And I'm playing racquetball, I'm basketball, I'm running, I'm sprinting, I'm lifting weights, I'm doing martial arts. Like, I do different things. I like to do a lot of different things with my body. And the personal trainers, I'm more fit than the personal trainers. Who the fuck is more qualified to tell you how and to show you how to work out? Me, who's actually physically fit and has demonstrated results? Or the guy that's 30 pounds overweight and yeah, maybe he knows, like, maybe he knows the ins and outs of, or she, because I've seen that too. Maybe he or she knows the ins and outs of the academic part of nutrition more than me, but I have the results. So who are you going to listen to? The person with the certificate that doesn't have the implemented results? Or are you going to listen to the person that doesn't have a certificate and has the results to show it anyway? Because they're just that cool, they're just that godlike. That's the thing, it really doesn't take a lot to be godly. It really doesn't take a lot. And yet, for some reason, it seems like people just, they don't want to understand. They don't want to get it. Because once they want to get it, they know that they're going to have to change. And that's what I think, like, you got to just ignore the reality, quote unquote, right? Because we, the Regal Change old timers, for those of you that are still here watching this, which assumedly is quite a few of you actually, which I'm very pleased with. The thing is that the Regal Change old timers will know that the difference between reality and truth is that it might be real that you have a certification, right? It might be real, but the truth is you're fat. Whereas for me, the reality is I don't have a certificate in like health and nutrition, right? But the truth is I'm more fit than you. Maybe I'm not as like jacked as some of these bodybuilders and whatever, but guess what? I can do more with my body than most of these bodybuilders and such. I do more with my body than most people ever will. You know what I read as a statistic a few months ago? That only like 3% of people over the age of 30 will ever sprint again. What happened to us, guys? What happened? I'll tell you what happened. We forgot our connection with the universe. We forgot our connection with ourselves. All these people have everything. They all have everything that they need. Seemingly so. And yet, they don't have who they really are. They know what they are, but they don't know who they are. And that's a sad thing. I was looking at some self-portrait images that Picasso did as he, got older, because he was actually a very great realistic artist. I mean, he knew all the rules, right? And one of his best quotes was, learn the rules so you can break them, something like that. And he was like one of the most realistic artists you'll ever have and see. And then once he got into his 30s and 40s, 50s, he started painting the more Picasso style, right? Where it's very much more abstract, and it seemed like, a child could do it, right? like a child could do this. And he even said at one point, he said it took him a lifetime, or it took him like decades to learn how to paint. It took him a lifetime to learn how to paint like a child, something like that, right? Because as he got older, his self-portraits, by the time he was, in his 90s, one of his last portraits, it just looked like he was, just an essence, this black and white essence. And that's very fascinating to me, because it's almost as if his soul was speaking out more than his body. It's good to have a healthy body. It's good. It really is. I don't think it's everything, though. I think the body, there are secrets to the body that many people don't know about. And one of the reasons why I talk about semen retention so much on my channel is because that's one of the secrets. A lot of people, including this woman that I talked to yesterday, she didn't really agree with the semen retention. And I understand her perspective. This is the thing about me. Like, I can really understand these people's perspectives, or rather, understand these people's perspectives. I can really understand these things. But it doesn't mean I agree with them. You know, I don't need to challenge these people. Right? I don't need to prove something. I don't need to not prove anything. I know what I know what I think. I know what I'm about. I'm not having these people on to talk about certain things to just, no, you're wrong. Like what is it? No, I'm here to like, okay, well, where can we find common ground, and where can we actually maybe find some additional insight? And that's what I think a lot of people, they don't want to actually have that deeper, like people are more concerned about the somatic response internally to certain people than the actual ideas. And to me, that just doesn't make any sense. Like you're gonna discount somebody just because of the way they look. Like I've seen people with tattoos, right, talk about God. And if you know me and my channel and are familiar with my work, I think that tattoos are basically portals toward other spiritual realms, and they're symbols of quantifiable trauma to some degree. Now, I could be wrong about that, but I don't think I am, because I've experienced a lot of empirical data on that, and I also have a vast amount of literature understanding of the way in which and how people get tattoos and why people get tattoos. What are the types of personalities are associated with people that get tattoos, and usually they're more impulsive. They're also more open, though. They're also more open-minded, and they're outgoing, but they're usually lower in industriousness for some reason. Not always, but sometimes. So anyway, I just find the psychology fascinating. But anyway, the point is that there's been people that have tattoos that have said some really great things, and although I don't agree with getting tattoos, I can appreciate the message behind the people. Like, for example, there's somebody that I was introduced to over the past couple months, and this person was, you know, going, like, he was in prison, and he was doing all these things, and he's got tattoos and all that, but his message is so clear and he is so profound that I'm not going to ignore him. Like I can look past the identity of the person. The person's physiognomy is going to show a lot of what the person's character is like, for sure. But it's not about the identity. That's one of the reasons I shaved my head, right? One of the reasons I shaved my head was because of identity. I didn't want to be attached to the identity anymore. But I will say I love my beard. Personally, I love my beard, man. I love my beard. I don't ever want to have to shave it. I don't want to ever shave it. But this is part of the process, right? This is part of the process of spiritual awakening, and recognizing that, like, you, even if nobody else gives a fuck, you still can. Just don't have too many fucks to give, right? Because you only have a certain amount of fucks to give every so often and every so day. But anyways, I think that we've got the message for today. I hope everybody stays blessed. I hope everybody is enjoying their time on this not planet. I don't believe in the planet. I don't really believe in flat Earth either, but this is a physical plane that can't really be proven to be whatever we think it is and whatever we don't think it is. So why even bother? Who cares? One thing is clear. When you look at the sun at sunset and sunrise, it's pretty damn clear that that thing is not billions of miles away, burning like a ball in the middle of space. It's just not. It's just not. What I think that this is, if you want my real, my my truthful reel, rather, of what I think that this world is. It's a mathematical construct, and I think the sky is potentially kind of like in Chicken Little, where the sky was falling, right? And there's these like, you know, these holographic hexagons or octagons or whatever that are falling from the sky. I think it's possible that the sky is a very sophisticated program that shifts in time and with certain patterns for a certain reason that may or may not be unknown to us. I think this is one of the reasons why astrology is so fascinating. But anyways, guys, I hope everybody stays blessed out there. I hope everybody has a peaceful day. You know, remember, guys, why get so depressed and anxious about things you can't control? Just enjoy what you can and be at peace with what you can't control, and be at peace with what you can control. I love being by myself. I don't really get lonely. I just don't. I find my own company to be very inspiring, and I find trees, for example, to be having more character than most people. So with all that being said, join the Regal Academy, or hit me up for a Godlike Mastery offer or the one-on-one sessions, and peace be with you all. Until next time.